Oh, welcome, fellow sales and marketing pros, to Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link virtual studios. I'm Bob Woods of Social Sales Link, sometimes known as the LinkedIn Sherpa. Bryn Tillman, who is always known as the LinkedIn Whisperer, normally joins us, but today we have a special guest, Stan Robinson Jr., who is a big part of the Social Sales Link team. Welcome, Stan.
Thank you, Bob. Great to join you. Because of course I watch you and Bryn all the time, so it's truly a pleasure to be here.
Well, thanks. Appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that. So, just to let everyone know, today is going to be a bit like one of those big crossover events, like when you see on TV when Law and Order SVU, and Law and Order Organized Crime have one of their massive type of crossovers thing. So I say that because Stan and Bryn host their own podcast, Sales Navigator Insights. So while they're just getting started, they already have 10 great shows that are available to stream via your favorite podcast platform, all about Sales Navigator and using it to ultimately start sales conversations. And that's where we are crossing over with Sales Navigator Insights. So how's the podcast been going so far, Stan?
So far, so good. It's always wonderful, and you know this better than I because you're lots of episodes into your podcast. Talking with Bryn is always a blast.
Yes.
And the fun thing is that on every episode we learn something new from each other.
Yeah.
So it is so much fun.
Yeah, that happens all the time in our podcast too. I'll toss out something or she'll think of something or I'll think of something that's like, I've never mentioned this before, but let me toss this out and see what you think. And then we build on that. And sometimes it even ends up in our group coaching and in our curriculum for, our private people as well as for corporate too. So, I mean, it's always a blast. And if you're either listening to us right now live or if you're listening to us on the podcast, we're definitely gonna hopefully be having a couple of those moments when it comes to Sales Navigator, because we're going to be taking just a little bit of a deeper dive in it. And while I know the answer to this following question that I got coming up, I would like to hear your thoughts on just why Sales Navigator. Why should salespeople use it just from an overall standpoint?
Yes, great question. And the key about Sales Navigator is it is a tool specifically designed for sales professionals. And the interface is totally different from LinkedIn's homepage.
That's an understatement.
Yes. So when LinkedIn users go to Sales Navigator, a lot of times they look at this and say, oh my goodness. But the key is it's designed to help you stay focused on sales opportunities. There's no extraneous information on your homepage at all. No ads. Everything you see on your homepage is driven by leads and accounts that you yourself have saved. And then Sales Nav's algorithm does recommend accounts and leads to you as it, quote unquote, learns more about you.
Right.
And what you're looking for. So that's the biggest key, is that it's specifically designed to help you stay focused on sales opportunities, help you find, as Sales Navigator says, the people who matter to you, help you develop some deeper business intelligence about them, both the individuals and their companies. And then Sales Navigator also, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, gives you trigger events that can lead to opportunities for conversation and engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of engagement, Craig has already chimed in a little bit with something that I actually hadn't planned on covering, but it's very important part. It's a very important part of Sales Navigator, and that's messaging. So you can do more with messaging in Sales Navigator than you can with just regular LinkedIn or even LinkedIn Premium without Sales Navigator. So keep in mind that there is a LinkedIn Premium level that you can get that gives you some more stuff, but it doesn't have Sales Navigator. Whenever you get Sales Navigator, you get LinkedIn Premium included with that, but you don't get LinkedIn Premium and Sales Navigator unless you pay extra for it. So I did just want to make that kind of distinction there. But let's just talk real quick about messaging and what are some of the extra things that you get with messaging in Sales Navigator that you don't get in regular LinkedIn or even just standalone LinkedIn Premium?
Yes, and thanks, Craig. And I'm assuming that Craig's primarily talking about InMails, which give you the opportunity to message anyone on LinkedIn. And now LinkedIn has crossed 1 billion users relatively recently. So, and I forget, I think it's 60 million plus companies that are on
Something
there
like that.
now. Yeah,
Yeah, it's huge. It's
somewhere in
just
that area.
astronomical.
So yes, so with InMails, you do not have to be connected to the individual as a first degree connection like you do on LinkedIn to be able to send them a direct message.
Mm-hmm.
And so without diving too deep down the rabbit hole, because you get a certain number of InMail credits to start with. And the good news with InMails is as you send them, if people respond to them, even if they say, I'm not interested, if they respond, you get that InMail credit back again. So you've got a certain allotment of InMails, but as people respond to them, it refills your allotment. So thank you, Craig. Yeah,
Yeah,
InMails
thank
can be
you,
a great
Craig.
tool.
And just real quick, before we move on, I like that feature that you get the credit back because a lot of times when you send stuff, you send it into the ether and you have no idea whether or not it's effective. When you start getting credits back, especially if you're sending like the same type of message and let's say you might have a campaign going on or something like that, you know that the message is resonating. It's, I don't want to call it an A/B test, but it's kind of testing in that you are getting results back that's like, oh, this is working, I should continue to do that, rather than just not knowing anything about what you're doing there.
Yes, and as you can see, Bryn has joined us as well.
Yeah, Bryn, so yeah, so we had mentioned before about AI opportunities that we didn't think that we were going to be able to talk about, but she has listed three. Where we're going to hold off on the details of these until later podcast episodes, not only on Making Sales Social Live, but on Sales Navigator Insights. But we are going to be getting some AI here. So account AI to help us with pre-call planning and buyer insights. I think that is huge. We're also going to be talking about, we're also going to be getting buyer mapping with organizational charts, as well as conversational search. So we're just going to kind of leave those out there and use the standard tune in to later episodes to find out much more about that. So yeah, absolutely. And Bryn says that she is engaging from the taxi. So she is definitely she is always hooked into everything and anything that is LinkedIn, just like Stan and I are, and we have a little bit of proof of that too. So we have that. Let's go into searches really quick, especially because we just talked a little bit about conversational searches, but let's just take it from a little bit of a higher level and just talk about the power of searches on Sales Navigator versus free or premium LinkedIn.
Yes, exactly. One of the biggest pluses of Sales Navigator are the additional search filters that you get. So with LinkedIn Premium, you do get the ability to see everyone that's viewed your profile for the past 90 days, which you don't get with the free version of LinkedIn. You only get the past 5 days.
Right.
but you don't get any additional search filters with LinkedIn Premium. In Sales Navigator, you do. So you have additional account search filters, um, the ability to drill down based on a number of different things, what type of company it is, whether it's private, public, etc. In terms of, in addition to headcount, also revenue. You can even search accounts by department, revenue, and changes in department headcount. So, for example, if you serve a particular, I don't know, say you carry a product around finance, and you see in one of your target companies that the headcount in the finance department's increasing. Well, that may be a signal for you to talk to them about their products. They may need some more seats or whatever the case may be. On the lead side, there are additional search filters around leads as well. So uh, Sales Navigator officially says there are about 40 plus filters. Last time I counted, it was closer to 54 total filters between accounts and leads in
Nice.
Sales Nav.
Nice. I had no idea that the number was that big, but that's pretty incredible. So Stan, you just talked a little bit about a trigger there, and in episode 5 of Sales Navigator Insights, again available on your favorite podcast platform provider, you discussed 7 different ways to leverage triggers. So you kind of went over what a trigger is, but let's just talk a little bit more about that, and then maybe give just like 1 or 2 more examples of that.
Yes, so we mentioned that triggers are events that are potential opportunities for you to start a conversation with your audience. Now, trigger is what Sales Navigator actually calls alerts. So on your home page on Sales Navigator, you will see areas for account alerts and lead alerts. And alerts, just in terms of accounts, can range from growth or what they call risk, which risk is another way of saying headcount decreases, as well as news events. If an account appears in the news, hopefully in a positive light,
Yeah.
that's an opportunity for you to start a conversation.
Yep.
And the power of these alerts is that they are opportunities for you to engage that you may not have otherwise seen, because we're all bombarded with so much information and we're trying to keep up with everything going on. And even if you're using Google alerts around your target accounts, it's not enough to keep up with everything that's going on, particularly with the leads that you're following.
Yep.
Because, for example, you can also get alerts when leads have posted on LinkedIn, when they've been mentioned in the news. So there are, Sales Navigator just makes our lives so much easier in terms of showing us information around the accounts and people that we're specifically interested in, which we can then use as opportunities to start conversations.
Yep. So then Brenda says that she loves alerts, and a comment that she made, although she's not here, she's here. That's great. I love it. So, as she said, and of course, this is absolutely true. Finding your ideal prospects is half the battle. The second is getting to hello, which triggers are a great way to get to hello. She also cites using the second degree filler to see who can help us get an intro. That is another great way to get to hello. So, and with all of the additional filters that are in there, you can do things much easier in Sales Navigator than you can do with either of the LinkedIn levels sans Sales Navigator. Let's just go ahead and put it like that. So and before we go on, I just want to point out that neither Stan or myself get a dime from anyone who signs up and starts paying for Sales Navigator. I just want to be clear about that because we talk a lot about Sales Navigator so much. Some people are probably going, "Oh my God, they must be making a mint off of Sales Navigator." We don't make a dime off of when people sign up for Navigator. We just think that the tool is so powerful that we talk about it a lot. Hence the separate podcast just on Sales Navigator, and of course, we offer formal training on it too. So always keep that in mind as well. So we had alluded to this a little bit before. If you've used Sales Navigator in the past but haven't seen it lately, let's just say it's changed a lot and is even better than it has been. We've already discussed some of the AI improvements that are coming out on it. One new feature that we can delve into a little bit more deeper, though, is Relationship Explorer. Let's get into that a little bit and talk about how we as salespeople can use it.
Yes, so Relationship Explorer is a tool that you'll see when you jump in, when you jump in to an account on Sales Nav, and Sales Navigator is trying to give you as much business intelligence that will be relevant for you in terms of helping you to be more effective in your relationship with the account, and more specifically the people in the account. And so Relationship Explorer is a way that you can kind of easily see the actors within the accounts.
I like
And
that, the actors, yeah,
yeah,
because
so
they are
check it out.
acting on, yeah, no, that's great. I love it.
So when you first jump into Relationship Explorer, you have the opportunity, and I know we haven't talked about this up to this point, but I'll mention it briefly. You can filter the people that you see in Relationship Explorer by either all employees, or what you should also do when you first get started on Sales Navigator, or even if you haven't done it up till now, you can always do it now, is start setting up personas.
Yes.
And
And that's new
personas,
too.
yeah, that's relatively new.
Yep.
Um, there are only 4 filters that you'll use for personas, but it's a way to start filtering down your target market, and you can use it for filtering within Relationship Explorer. You can use personas to filter your searches for people as well. And personas, let's see, we've got geography as one of the filters. Seniority is one of the filters. Title is one of the filters. And I actually have to look as far as the last one, because I always have to stop and think. Function
Right.
is the
Yep.
4th
Right. Yep.
filter.
Yep.
And so one of the powerful aspects of personas, and you can have up to 5 personas, because particularly in large organizations there that have a fair number of decision makers, because the number of decision makers involved in complex sales keeps going up on average in terms of the buying committee. But within a large organization, especially, you have different groups of people that are involved in the decision-making process.
Yep.
And so, as Bob mentioned, within Relationship Explorer, you can use personas to kind of filter down the people that come back to you. And underneath that, you also have what's called a relationship map, which
That's
Sales
huge.
Navigators, going to continue to refine, but right now it's a way for you to start to set up your own version of an org chart, so you can see how people within an organization are related to each other. And
Yeah,
that's another. Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
that's really cool though, because you could see who touches what at which part, because you're building that org chart for yourself rather than just seeing an org chart that's just, somewhere online or whatever. You can actually customize that within Sales Navigator, and then you can potentially, depending on what you're doing in terms of, your own outreach efforts and things like that, you can actually make direct contact from the entries in that chart as well, which I think is just really cool.
Yeah, yeah, and
And then Bryn says she also loves using personas on companies and account pages, which is absolutely true. And and absolutely great. So we do have a question that just came in. Someone, Luciana, I hope I pronounced that right. I own a language school in Brazil. Most of our clients are B2B in the oil and gas industry. Would Sales Navigator work for us? Most of our clients are in Brazil. LinkedIn is worldwide. I
Yeah.
mean, LinkedIn is, and LinkedIn is most definitely not America only. I mean, I remember, and this was a little while ago, and I'm sure it's still the same though. American accounts versus worldwide accounts. I mean, America wasn't, or the United States, I should say specifically. It wasn't even 50% on there. I mean,
Hmm.
there
Oh
is,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, there is quite a spread of users from around the world who use or who use LinkedIn in general, which is what Sales Navigator taps into. And in fact, one thing one fact that I remember, when Microsoft first bought LinkedIn, one of the things that they said is that, prior to them buying it, they considered LinkedIn a top resource for accurate information about people who are in companies. And that's part of why
Mhm.
Microsoft paid that 30 whatever billion, I mean, just a huge number to buy LinkedIn, is because of the database that was there. So always keep that in mind, that, and this is especially true for Sales Navigator, because you're depending on updated information in there, that the information is more than likely good in there. And some of these other databases that you can buy company data from probably aren't as good, in my opinion, as LinkedIn, and which Sales Navigator can access.
Yeah, exactly. And I just did a real quick search for leads in Brazil in oil and gas, and I think the other one was oil, gas, and mining that I put in.
Okay.
But 310,000 results.
And also keep in mind that's from Stan's list. So someone who is in Brazil, who has connections in Brazil, is probably going to be even higher, because Stan, I'm gonna kind of assume that you probably don't have a lot of connections in Brazil.
Yeah, you definitely are correct in that.
So,
Um, and when I took off oil and gas and just did Brazil, I see 18 million results.
so
So yeah,
yeah, yeah. So Luciana, I think you're pretty safe to assume that you're going to find people in there. So that's good. So one last area that I want to go over really quick is smart links. One of my favorite features of Sales Navigator. So we're going to go through it really quick and explain why it's so powerful. There is one caveat to it though, and that's, Sales Navigator has 3 tiers. It has like an individual tier, and then like a teams tier, and an enterprise tier. Unfortunately, smart links are not available in the individual tier. You have to go through the second tier or the third tier for it. So with that out of the way, let's get into smart links and why they're so powerful.
yep, yep. So smart links, as Bob mentioned, not available to core. The
Yeah,
sales
core is
nav
what.
keeps
Oh, yep.
keeps changing the names of the tiers, but
I know. I know. That's
sales
why I don't say them.
but at least as of today, I think they're called advanced and advanced plus tiers. And smart links is simply a way that you can share multiple pieces of content by sending just one link to a person. And you don't have to worry about oversized files. It helps with firewalls. And there's so many different uses for it. Now, so one thing is being able to send the information. The other beautiful thing from a sales standpoint is that you get tracking on engagement. So whenever anyone opens the smart link and they start looking at the content you sent, you get notified and you can see how long they spend on each piece of content. So if you send, say, a proposal to a company and they wind up passing it around internally, you can see who has engaged with that proposal. And of course, that's an opportunity for you to follow up. Bryn, who's on the call, she'd sent
Yeah.
a proposal to someone, it was at least 3 years before, and probably longer.
Yeah.
And nothing ever happened with it. But then she recently got an email notification that someone popped the proposal open and looked at it. Now, this person did not contact her. All they did was look at the proposal she'd sent years earlier. But by virtue of the fact that she got notified about it, she was able to contact them. And it turned into business. So, of course, the same thing applies to you.
Yep. It's amazing. It's amazing. So with that, and also keep in mind, and this is something that Brandon popped in earlier, individuals can buy the advance. It just costs more, but um but individuals can do that. It's like Bryn said, though, and this is an old quote of hers. She used to, and I'm probably going to mangle it, but she would oh, I'm trying to remember it now. It had to do with the Sales Navigator. What she paid for Sales Navigator now covers her mortgage, and while before she would kind of juggle, which is first, Sales Navigator or mortgage. And obviously this is hyperbole to a certain extent, but I mean, it can generate real money for you, is the bottom line, because it is so powerful. So with that, again, Stan and Bryn's podcast is called Sales Navigator Insight. We have just scratched the surface. They get into much, much deeper things when it comes to Sales Navigator than we did today. The episodes have been great so far, and only promises to be better going forward. So thank you so much, Stan, for stopping by. We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Bob. And if anyone had other questions, just feel free to ping us directly. I'm happy to help. Bob,
Yep.
thanks so much. This has been awesome.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate it. And I want to thank you for joining us on Making Sales Social Live. If you're with us live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or X, formerly known as Twitter, right now, we do this every week. So keep an eye out for our live sessions. If you're listening to us on our podcast and you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button to access all of our previous shows and to be alerted when new ones drop. And, feel free to do that with Sales Navigator Insights too. If you like more information on our podcast, it's socialsaleslink.com/podcast. We do 2 shows weekly here, this one and our Making Sales Social interview series, where we talk with leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, and many more areas. So when you are out and about, be sure to make your sales social, and have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.